set to go this week. So a couple reminders here, the 5-minute moneymaker. We're actually going to talk about this today. How smart are high net worth investors? Probably very smart, but they still do dumb things. In a recent study that interviewed high net worth investors, they were asked how they would react to down markets. And 16%, if the market fell by 16%, most said I would remain calm. Market falls by 23%, I would start feeling uncomfortable. Market falls by 31%, I'd probably pull my money out. So what does that tell us, guys? What does that tell us? At the very time, you know, by 31% down, guess what? I'd pull out at 16% down, but would you pull out at 31% down? No, and by that point, what? The damage is done. By that point, the damage is done. Now you're locked in. Because the problem is, if you pull out at 31%, when do you get back in? Most people won't get back in until the market's what? Recovered. Now, here's the thing. What if you're smart enough? What if you are working with a money manager and you're smart enough to stay in? Are you rewarded or punished if you're smart enough to stay in at 31% down? Think about that, because this is a conversation you should have with your clients. This is a conversation you have with your clients. Mark's got it. You're punished. Yes, exactly right. Why? See, some people will get out at 16%, which makes the market do what, guys? Some people will get out at 16%, which makes the market do what? Fall more. That's right, Cheryl. And then it falls more, it goes down to 23%. Some more people will say, well, 23% is my trigger. They get out. Then what happens to them? That's right, Mark. See, as more and more people, everybody has a different level of discomfort. So 16% is for some, 20% is others, 25% is others, 30% is others. But every time a group of people get out, it forces it down more. And then another group of people gets out, it forces it down more. And another group of people gets out, it forces it down more. So even if you're smart enough to hold on, and this is the conversation you have, because do investors want to think that they're smart, especially the ones that say, I'll hold on. I'm a smart investor. I'm going to hold on even when the market goes down. They love to believe that they're what? And I want everybody to answer this. When investors say that, they like to pretend that they're what? Yeah, I'm going to, if the market goes down, I'm not going to panic. I'm going to hold on. Yeah, smart and sophisticated. Exactly, smart and sophisticated. So you have to have them realize that they're being punished or being rewarded for being smart when the market goes down. Punished. Because everybody else panicking is going to only drive the market down more. And remember, if the market falls 31%, how much does it have to go back up to get back to ground even? Yeah, about 43, 44%. So this is a conversation you need to have with folks because they think they're being smart by holding on when the market falls. You have to have them realize that you'll be punished to be holding on when the market falls by all the other idiots. So the idiots, this guy that got out at 16, this idiot that got out at 16% ends up being what? Smart. And the smart guy who held on to 31% ends up being what? Dumb. When should you have this conversation? When the market's down 31% or right now when we're coasting on the second longest bull market in history? Yeah, now. Exactly, everything now. Makes sense? And we're going to talk a little bit more about this here in the call today. Second thing is, don't panic. Advisor panic on the 5Q tape breakdown. Don't panic. This advisor panics and flees when he gets a little pushback. Dudes and dudettes, take a breath and use it to your advantage. So we're going to talk about both of these topics here as we go through. So there's a service or a website or a blog called The Real Deal of Sales, real sales stories from real salespeople, and they actually interviewed some of the top salespeople, not in the financial industry, but in all industries. And they came up with some, and they interviewed these guys and said, what do you think? If your son was going into the selling industry of any type of sales, what would you recommend? What would you tell them that they need to focus on to become a great salesperson? And I don't care what you guys think. Guys, are we in the business of managing money or are we in the business of sales? Yeah, we're in the business of sales. So when my son went to college, what did I tell him to major in? Finance? What did I tell him to major in? Communication, Dave. Exactly right. Communications. That's what we're in the deal in. We don't manage people's money. We hire people to do that for us. What we are is the middleman, the communicator that makes sure our clients understand what the money managers are doing. We're in the communication industry, the selling industry. So here's what they said. Number one, build your weaknesses until they become your strengths. So find that thing that you're the worst at, and what should you spend all your time working at? So those of you that work out and are into fitness, what exercise do trainers tell you need to work on? Not core. What do they tell you to work on? Find the exercise that you hate, and that's the one you need to work on. Why? That's right, Jonathan. That's your weak point. So if you find that, you know, and I always have, and Jeff, you probably heard this before, asking questions is hard. How many times have you heard that, Jeff?
I've heard that a lot.
So Jeff, here's what I tell people. I tell people I can fix that in an afternoon. In fact, I can fix that in a couple of hours. Here's what I'll do. I'm going to fly to your office. If you really want me to fix it, I'll fix it. I'm going to fly to your office. I'm going to have a loaded 45. And anytime anything comes out of your mouth that's not a question, I'm going to shoot you in the kneecap. What would people magically, and what does everybody tell me, Jeff, when I do that? What does everybody tell me they could magically do at that point?
Well, yeah, at that point they could ask questions.
Now, would there be some awkward gaps as they try to figure out how to phrase what they want to say in a question? Could there be some awkward gaps?
Sure.
Could there be some weird or awkward questions because they are not, they're still trying to learn the skill?
Sure.
But here's the funny thing, guys. Not 10 years, not 10 months, not 10 weeks, not 10 days, not even 10 hours after I sat in their office with this kind of deal, but just 10 minutes of focusing and only asking questions, what would happen to those awkward silences, Jeff, after just 10 minutes of that?
Oh, they'd get a lot shorter.
And how about the awkward questions?
They'd get a lot better.
So is it that asking questions is hard then? If they can get better in 10 minutes, is it the fact that asking questions is hard?
No, it's just a matter of focus. It's just a matter of making yourself do it.
So guys, whatever your weakness is, that's what you need to work on. And Jeff, if I had to put in, I know what I would vote. What would you say the biggest weakness our guys have?
That's telling, selling, preaching, and teaching.
Yeah. So asking questions, right?
Right.
So you guys focus on that. Focus, focus, focus. And on, again, how many questions, let's get some answers. How many questions should you be asking minimum? First of all, how many questions do you think I ask on average per minute? Open-ended questions. How many open-ended questions per minute? About 5 per minute. About 5 per minute, which means what? About every 12 seconds I'm asking a question. So do you guys need to have that skill level? No. But you know what? If you were asking 2 questions per minute, guess how, 2 open-ended questions per minute, guess what would happen to your meetings? If you were just, you don't even have to be as good as me. If you were asking just 2 open-ended questions, how good would your meetings be? So one of the tests to do that is listen to 5 minutes of your tape. Listen to 5 minutes of your tape and then count how many open-ended questions you have. Add a little tally marks. You know, like if you were caught in if you're in prison and you're scratching these hash marks, 1, 2, 3, 4 slash, 1, 2, 3, 4 slash on the wall and how many days you're there. Do that. Put slash marks for every open-ended question you have in 5 minutes. And guess how many open-ended questions you're going to have? You should have minimum of 10. I would have closer to 25 or 30. But you should have a minimum of 10. Most of you guys are going to find out how many you're going to have in 5 minutes. Way less than half of what you'd have minimum, way less than 1/10 of what I do. So guys, that's build on your weaknesses till they become your strengths. See, I argue with people. I tell people they're wrong. I tell people they're stupid. Guess how I prevented that from happening? That's why when I was making 50 grand a year, I debated people. I argued with people. I made sure they understood that I was smarter than them and they were idiots and what they were doing is idiots. That's right, Dave. I only ask questions. When I only ask questions, guess what I can't do? Argue. I can't get into an argument if all I'm doing is asking questions, because they can only argue when I tell them something. Make sense? Second thing, how awkward moments work. So a small portion of you laugh it off. Small portion change the subject. Small portion you all go to going on to something else, or it gets even more awkward. And see, that's what I was talking with Jeff, is that, you know, if we're asking questions and they get a little awkward, what do guys do, Jeff? Isn't it funny? I mean, I pulled this graph right off the internet. What do guys do?
Yeah, they just move on to something else.
Yeah, they change the subject, they'll move on to something else, or it gets even more awkward. Guys, if you get into a situation where it's getting awkward, or you feel that they're irritated, or you don't know where to go, the last thing you want to do is panic, and that's what I see most of you guys do. I've seen meetings where guys asking great questions, great open-ended questions, and all of a sudden things go off the rails a little bit, and guess what they do? Panic and go right into the telling, selling, preaching, teaching mode. Guys, what should you do? What should you do if things go off the rails? What should you do if things go off the rails? Ah, good job. Let's see, who said that? John Lensing, you are exactly right. Take a breath and slow down. Because your knee-jerk reaction when things are getting awkward is your fight-flight kicks in, which makes you want to talk faster. And when you're talking faster, are you thinking or not thinking? You're not thinking. So take a breath and slow down. That gives you the ability to figure out which direction do I want to go. Does that make sense? So you're never going to be rewarded by speeding things up. You're always rewarded for slowing things down. And as salespeople, guess how fast we want to talk? Way too fast. So slow it down if you ever get if you're in a situation where you don't know what to do, or your meeting's going off the rails. Everybody type this in. What do you need to do? It's right on your screen. Slow down and take a breath. So, Miles Davis, if you aren't making a mistake, it's a mistake. So that means that if you're excellent at what you were doing yesterday, guess what? If you're awesome, because, you know, if you compare to what you did today as compared to what you did yesterday and you're awesome, is that a good thing or a bad thing? It's a bad thing. You gotta be what? Working on your skills to the point where you make a mistake so you can improve on that. So when I saw my income go from $50,000 a year to skyrocketing, it was because I was listening to my tapes to find out the mistakes I was making. Now, I've been using open-ended questions, motivational interviewing, getting on their side. I've been using that stuff for 19 years myself personally, and I still work on it every single day. Guess what the record? Some of you should know this. What's the record? When I listen to my tape, what's the record I have of how many minutes I can go before I make a mistake? And, you know, can we agree ain't many people better than me at that skill walking on the face of this earth? There better not be if I've been doing it and working on it for 19 years. 3.5 minutes is how far I can go. 3.5 minutes is my record. So, I mean, if that's the case with me, then you need to be, you know, what's the advantage of doing this 15-minute drill? If you're not doing your 15-minute drill every day, guys, your 15-minute drill costs you how much? Nothing. Takes you how long? 15 minutes. That 15-minute drill will give you the income of a surgeon who has to work 12 years and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to make the same as what you'll make if you spend a year doing the 15-minute drill. Why does doing the 15-minute drill get you up to that income? Because that means if you do the 15-minute drill every single day, you're fixing a mistake. Every single day you're fixing a mistake. That means in 5 days, I'll give you some hard math here, financial advisors. In 5 days then, how many mistakes will you have fixed? 5. Guess how many more mistakes that is than you fixed in the last 5 years, probably? 5. And we've talked about this. If you fix 5 mistakes a week, can we admit you've gotten 2% better at what you do? If you fix 5 mistakes a week, you've gotten 2% better. And if you get 2% better every week, that's a tripling. That's a tripling of your skill level. And a tripling of your skill level is going to give you a tripling of your income, okay? Mistake plus correction equals learning. Never stop learning. Michelangelo is 87, and he was quoted as saying, "I am still learning." Same. I mean, if you look at Albert Einstein said the same thing. So guys, this whole thing about I can't teach old dogs new tricks is a bunch of what? Hooey. It's a matter of focus. You may not want to learn. Don't say you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Say, I don't want to learn. I don't want to make the effort. I'll agree with that. But you can't, won't, hard. No, there's no, Jeff, as we just talked about earlier with asking open-ended questions, is that hard or is it just a matter of focus?
It's just a matter of focus. In fact, I always tell people, you already do it. You can't just go home and lecture your wife. You can't just go around and lecture your friends. You wouldn't be married. You wouldn't have friends. You know how to be personable. You know how to interact with people. You know how to be friendly and ask questions. You just don't do it at work. So to say you can't do it just isn't true.
Exactly. So remember, guys, these are things that guys that make close to $1 million a year in sales, not just in finance, but in all sorts, this is what they're saying you need, the kind of mentality you have to have. The next thing is they said you need to be accountable. You hold and accountable to who? Accountable to who? Yourself, right, John? Yourself. That's right, guys. Yourself. So why did my income go straight up, exponentially up after flatline for 8 years? Why did my income go straight up when I started to tape my meetings and listen to them every single day? Because I was finally holding myself accountable. Because when I wasn't listening to tapes, I placed the blame on everybody except myself. But when I started to listen to tapes, I found out it's not the client's fault. It's not the market's fault. It's not interest rates' fault. It's not the product's fault. It's my fault. And when I started to hold myself accountable, I magically started to make a ton of money. And Jeff, what would you say one of the hardest things that guys do when they, and even today, guys have been in the system for 2 or 3 years, what do they find it hard to do?
Well, hold themselves accountable.
And have you ever heard, no, I know this screwed it up, but this guy was really hard. Oh, I did pretty good on the meeting. I could have done better, but boy, this is a really difficult person, or this person wouldn't talk, or blah, blah, blah. When they say that, it's like kind of like if you ever heard down south when you know a lady from down south will say, "God bless her," but guys, just because you say it's my fault, but then you blame somebody else, what are you saying? No, it's still your fault, dude. Don't even bring up the other person. If you have something they want, and the only thing between what they want and them is you, guess whose fault it is? Yourself. That's why that 15-minute drill every single day will make you 3 times better or 3 times as much money by the end of the year. Make sense? So these are things that the top salespeople said you need to get better at. And do they all ring true? In my mind, they ring absolutely 100% true. Because guess what? I was doing all of those things when I went from making $50,000 to $1 million a year. The change was doing all these things. Because prior to that, I wasn't doing any of these things. Okay. We're going to change subject here. I want to talk about sales and persuasion, and we're going to talk about it with how the courts or how great attorneys use it. Because what we're going to find out is that what attorneys do to convince juries works very, very well for us with our clients. Okay? And why is that, Jeff? What do trial attorneys spend an awful lot of time learning about, Jeff? Is there like law? Is that what they're worried about?
No, they're really worried about, it comes down to communication. They really, where you see it the most is a lot of times, you know, attorneys, they're not allowed to tell stories. They have to ask questions of witnesses, and with their answers kind of, it tells a story. The answers to those questions tell a story. And a lot of times when litigation becomes really complex, a lot of times these attorneys will hire experts to testify. So imagine a plane crashes and one person is saying, well, it's the airline's fault. It's mechanical, it's the plane. Another person will say, no, that's not the plane, it was the weather. So each side calls an expert, and when they looked, what attorneys wanted to know is how does the jury know which expert to believe, because they're all really well credentialed, they're all really experts in their field, and they're saying opposite things. So how does the jury know who to believe? Well, they took one of those shadow juries, you know, those juries that are not real juries. They just listen to the testimony and then they give feedback. And what they found out is what it depends on is who's the most plain spoken. Who can describe things in layman's terms, because that's who the jury believes. If you can explain it in a way that I can understand it, I believe it. If you can't explain it in a way, if it's too complicated or it's too much jargon, I don't believe it. You're not that smart if you can't explain it in layman's terms. And that's why we have this, kind of this idea or notion of these country attorneys that are so successful. It's because they're relatable. They can make people laugh. They can get down on people's level, and people feel like they can understand them.
That's exactly right. It's again, just like we said, my son needed to major in what? Communications. The best attorneys, they have technicians that will find the niches in the law. They're not experts at finding the niches in the law. They're expert at communicating to juries. They have, you know what, because you get paid more for communication skills as an attorney, you get paid more for communication skills as an advisor, or do you get paid more to know a lot about the law, or do you get paid more to know a lot about finances? You're always going to get paid more to communicate. So when Jeff is saying you can't tell stories, you cannot make up stories, but if you can turn the facts that Jeff was talking about into stories, it ends up being that's a huge skill. And in fact, what they found is that with juries, research shows that most juries decide on the verdict during or right after the opening statement. So guess what because the opening statement allows the attorney to pontificate. Guess what they found out that the attorneys were doing well during those opening statements? Putting all the facts into a story. So our opening statement has to be extremely high now, or extremely powerful. What do you think? What's our opening statement? And it's kind of a trick question, because it's not really an opening statement. It's an opening conduct, or it's opening our opening act. What are clients convinced that we are during our opening act at a 21-point checklist? What are they convinced during our opening act or opening conduct? Well, I'd agree with that, Jerry. Caring, consultant. Yep, Bonnie, I'd agree with that. See, during the 21-point checklist, they think we're going to come in and start pushing a product or selling them. And by conducting ourselves in a caring manner as a consultant, as Bonnie and Jerry said, if we conduct ourselves by asking all these questions that we don't get paid to ask and helping them fix all these things we don't get paid to fix, we're letting them know that we're not a salesperson. So by the time 40, 45, or 50 minutes have passed and we're into the financial stuff, they're thinking we're only covering the finances because we want to get at their money, or they think it's just one more thing that we're helping them with. See, all that financial stuff, I did all that stuff when I was making 50 grand a year. I presented the exact same way that we present in the 20-point checklist on the finances when I was making 50 grand a year. It's not like I fixed those things. I had those things. They're very Socratic, and they're very laying out logically what's happening. So I was doing those things when I was making 50 grand a year, with the risk versus reward, with the VA fees, with all the fees. I mean, all the turnover, tenure, all those things. I was doing all those things. But they thought the only reason I was doing those things is because I wanted them to move their money to me, so they distrusted me. It was doing all the non-financial things that had them decide this guy's not a salesperson. This guy is actually here to help. This guy's a consultant. This guy is caring. So by the time I got to the finances, They said, oh, this is one more thing he's helping me with. It's not, oh yeah, he's just saying that to get my money. Does that make sense? And at the solution meeting, we start that out with what? The 5 questions. How much of your money can you afford to lose? If you do lose, how soon do you want to get back? How much of your money do you want to grow? How much of your money do you want access to? Should we invest for the good, the bad, or both? See, they're deciding at that point, wow, I would like something that does all those things. Then all we have to do is what? If they decide they want something that does those 5 things, then all we have to do is what? Walk them through what we recommend does those 5 things. And what's the only thing that we know will, number 1, make sure they don't lose money, because number 1, the question is how much money principal want to lose? None of it. Well, okay, there you go. How many, and then the next question is, if you do lose the money, when do you want it back? And most people say within a year. Next thing is, how much your money to grow? How much your money do you want liquid? Good, bad, or I got one answer there. Come on, guys. What product does those things? Not annuities. What kind of annuities? There's only one kind that does it. That's right. And our annuities or money managers more liquid? Are annuities or money managers more liquid? Everybody's getting that right. FIAs are, Toby, that is not right. So we got it all right except for Toby. Everybody's saying FIAs. Now, who's telling us that fixed index annuities are more liquid? The client does. And the client is what? F you, Dave. It's not me saying it. It's the client says it. If I'm the one that says it, then that's bullshit. So, Dave, you and I are talking later. You better fix that before we talk later. So, guys, who says it? The client says it. Well, yeah, don't joke on these calls because I get pissed off really easy. So Dave's saying he's joking. Don't do that. I've got a message here. This is not about levity. It's about learning, you guys getting better. So the client says that FIAs are more liquid. Okay? The client says FIA is more liquid. And a little more liquid or a lot more liquid? A lot. So next thing they said is know your audience. So you better know the jury. Jeff, how much time and effort does, in a big litigation case where there's millions or even billions of dollars on the like for the tobacco lawsuit or the asbestos lawsuits, how much time or do the attorneys hire people to even try to figure out and research the individuals on the jury?
Oh yeah, I mean they hire jury consultants. I think there was even a TV show, or still might be, on CBS about a jury consultant. So yeah, they're used all the time.
Juror number 3, he's this. Juror number 7 or 8, he's this. They actually will talk to individual jurors. Know your audience. How do we know our audience? How do we know we know our audience better than any other advisor out there? Ah, very good, Dave. 60,000 tapes. 60,000 recorded meetings. It's like Groundhog Day. We've lived these meetings over and over and over. Should we ever be surprised about what happens at a meeting? Not if you know the scripts. Not if you know the scripts. So when guys are wondering, what if this happens? What if that happens? What if it doesn't happen? Jeff, if something was happening over and over, what would we have fixed about 17 years ago?
Yeah, we would have fixed it. A good example of that is in the beneficiary script. People used to say, oh, well, my grandkids they're not my responsibility. My kids are all I'm really worried about. That's my responsibility. My grandkids, that's my kids' responsibility. It's not my job to take care of my grandkids. Well, then we fixed it. We started asking people, where would you want the money to go if your kids were gone? I'd want it to go to my grandkids. Why? Because that's the most fair, and I love them, and I want to make sure that we fixed it. That way they don't say that anymore. If that was a problem,
we started to make them say that before they found out they're disinheriting the kids. You cannot say that after they found out they're disinheriting the kids. We put it in there before.
Yeah,
We
so
added
anything,
that. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so anything that was a problem, we put a script in ahead of time to make sure it didn't become a problem. So you're not going to run into that as a problem or a lot of things as problems because they've already been addressed.
So that's the great thing. We know our audience better than any other advisor. And we need to remain consistent. Consistency builds trust. Do you understand that consistency builds trust? If my son wants to go to an all-weekend concert, and he's 18 years old, 17 years old, wants to go to an all-weekend concert, I'm going to say, no, you can't even make your bed. You've not done any chores for the last 6 months. Why would I trust that you would do the right things at the concert? So lo and behold, I get home from work that day, and boy, his room's clean and his bed's made. See, Dad? Okay, can I go? What would I tell him? No. That's right, Wade. No. One time. No. What does he need to do? He needs to be what? In order to instill trust in me, he needs to do that what? Over and over and over consistently. Consistency is the key. So how you handle questions is consistent. So if you argue at the end of their questions to correct or try to tell, sell, preach, and teach with their questions instead of letting them answer their own questions. How you handle objections. If you get defensive and if you try to overcome the objection instead of getting on their side and letting them overcome their own objection. Do you tell them or do you let them tell you, motivational interviewing? How you handle awkward situations. If you speed up and try to run away from the situation as quickly as possible, or whether you slow down and take a breath. Do you correct them? And professionalism. So guys, the better you get at, and we're all going to make mistakes with these things, but you want to make the mistakes fewer and less often. Because when you do these things right most often, you become very, very what? Trustworthy. And let me give you an example of professionalism. One of the biggest things that I did to show that I was professional, because you know what, I conducted myself, Missy's on vacation this week, so she would validate this, but if you listen to me meeting, I'm coking and I'm joking and I'm having fun and I would make fun of myself. My tone was up and down, and I mean, I was not what you consider very professional, because most advisors think you need to be very serious and this is an important thing and you got to be like this. I was not like that at all. I was all over the place. But you know how they knew immediately that I was a professional? Anybody know this? How did they know immediately how I was a professional? I wrote upside down. I had more comments, but not about Mike, you're a genius. Mike, you got great investments. Mike, this is guess what they said? Wow, you write upside down better than I write upside right. What was writing upside down telling them? And I've had advisors spend a whole Saturday learning to do this. I do it a lot. If I do it a lot, what's that tell them? Experience, well practiced, exactly. I'm a pro. So you want to get really good at a skill. You want to, you're watching the boob tube. Have a pad of paper in front of you and learn to write upside down. It tells people immediately this is a guy who's done this before lots of times. He's practiced. He's a pro. So I mean, it's these things that you need to be good at and good at consistently. Does that make sense? And then the last thing is you got to appeal to their emotion. Got to appeal to their emotion. Guys, all of the biggest court cases were won by facts or emotion. Emotion. And every big sales, every big sale you ever made is going to be made by emotion. So how do we deal with our emotion? What's our hot button, guys? What's our hot button? This is the great thing. We're the only system out there that has this hot button. It's the hot button taxes. They're paying too much in taxes. The hot button fees. They're paying too much in fees. Is the hot button, what is their hot button? You got it, Jonathan. Mistrust, exactly. It's their guy is screwing them. Now, what if they say, I'm mad as hell, and I'm probably going to keep taking it, and anyway, you bastards. What does that mean? If our clients say, I'm mad as hell, but I'm probably going to stay with my guy, what's that tell you? What are they mad at? No, they're not mad at us. No. What are they mad at? They're mad as hell, but I'm probably going to stay with my guy. That's right, Wade. The fees. The fact that their beneficiaries are wrong. The fact that their manager tenure is not very high. They're mad at the things. What would you say to that, Jeff?
Yeah, it's not the things on the list that get people to leave. People won't leave for a survivor's guide. People won't leave for a power of attorney. We all get that intuitively. Here's where advisors think that they're, this is where advisors get into trouble. They think that they'll leave because they're paying too much in fees. They think that they'll leave because they have high turnover. They think that they'll leave because they have bonds. No, they won't. They'll go back to they might, here's where they might, for sure they're going to go back to their guy and they're going to say, hey, my fees are too high. I don't want these bonds. I want my turnover lowered. If he gives them the finger, well then they will come back to you. But he's not going to do that. He's going to tell them, hey, I'll take care of it. And that's why you never hear from him again.
So you can't have I'm mad as hell, I'm going to stay with them though, because that means they got mad at the things, not at the guy. You need them to say, I'm mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore. I need to get away from this guy as quickly as possible. And many of you are saying it's motive. You're right. It's the motive. Why did their advisor omit these things? Make sense? So there's all this stuff. This is all reiterating what you should already know. But if we don't reiterate it on a regular basis, what do? We forget it or ignore it. Okay. So please don't forget what we're trying to accomplish here. Make sense? So a couple of things. One is a chart of the day. It's talking about PE, and if you can see, the red line is the average PE, and it seems like anytime we go above that red line, what happens? Anytime we go above that red line, what happens? Well, where are we right now? Does that mean that we know exactly when it's going to occur? Nope. Look at here. It went down, up, then down, and then up again, and then down. All we know is that, guess what? When it goes above this, we're in the danger zone or not in the danger zone? We're at the second longest bull market in history. Danger zone or not danger zone? I love that, Dave. Danger Will Robinson. That brings memories back to me. So, guys, again, I'm not saying that we need to panic. I'm saying you better or better not have discussions with your clients about what's going to happen when things go to heck in a handbasket. And remember the first slide we started with today? 31% down. What do most advisors say, or most clients, even high net worth smart clients, say they're going to do? Pull money out at the very worst time. What will that do to your money management side, guys? You better hope to hell that you got 70% of your money in guaranteed, because if they won't pull the money. If you got 70% of your money in the market and 30% guaranteed, you're going to lose clients, or you're going to lock in what? A third less income. And so some more information on this. Wealth Management Magazine, 2017, they asked 492 investors, high net worth investors working with advisors. They were surveyed. 75% had not been told how much their portfolios would lose in a down market. 75%. And guys, if you think you've told your clients, let me talk to them. And what do you think I'm going to find out? Of the 25% where losses had been discussed, 62% believe their losses had been less than actual. So the numbers are a little bit tricky here, but that means basically what percent of people either haven't not had the market going down discussed how it will affect their portfolio, or if it has been discussed, it was significantly less than what they thought it would go down. We're talking upwards of 85%, which means less than 15% of people realize what's going to happen to their accounts. The survey found 57% of clients would likely panic in a downturn. And then Wealth Management Magazine said, this is setting up the same way as it always does. Market will eventually crash, and when it does, investors will feel upset, betrayed, and litigious. And guys, I'm working with a lot of wealth management guys who are dumbasses right now. Why am I saying that? Guess what they're telling me about this chart? What are they telling me about this chart? 4 words. What are they telling me about the chart? Ah, very good, Dave. You gave me 3 of the words. This time it's different. Famous last what? Famous last words. It ain't any different this time, guys. It is not any different. So let's talk about money managers. Why do we need to be awesome? Let's talk about the scripts of the scripts and fees. Why do we have to become awesome at the money management scripts? Why do we have to become awesome at the money manager fee script? Everyone is moving their money there. With the DOL scare, everybody put their money into money management, and more is going there. Okay? So guess what? We're going to be running into more and more clients with money managers, so we better be awesome at this particular script. So let's talk about this. Now, I got into this a little bit. Oops, last time, and I jumped from that because I don't want to see the answer. I want everybody to answer this question. 2 weeks ago, or 3 weeks ago, I said we were doing this. We're going to go over the money management script, and I said, after the money management script, what script do we immediately jump to? And I wanted you to all go and watch the money management script and find out where do we jump. So answer that question. Where do we jump after we get done with the money management script? We're getting some good answers, finally. No, not VA fee. Guys, I got 3 right freaking answers. I asked you last time. Okay, you got 4 right answers. I asked you last time that if you didn't know this and nobody knew the answer last time, go to the money management script and learn where we jump to. That's not freaking hard, guys. Do you want to make more money or do you not want to make more money? That's lazy. Lazy, lazy, lazy. That means none of you did this because you wouldn't forget something that easy. So get your ass to the money management scripts and learn that. Why? Everybody answer. Why do you need to learn the money management script? Some of you give me the answer again. Why? One answer. 5 answers. 10 answers. Good. That's where they're going to find most of the money. So you better be awesome at this. Come on, guys. Don't be lazy. So the money management script, after the money management script, you jump to the risk reward script. God, I can't believe, guys, I'm so disappointed. I asked you to do one thing. How hard was it to go do that? And you didn't do that. So thank you for those of you that did, and shame on you for the ones that didn't. I thought you came onto the system to make more money. You can't even go to a script if I ask you directly to do that? Come on, guys. So let's talk about this. During the money management script, we talk about 2 different gas stations. One gas station is charging more for gas, but they tell me it's worthwhile because it's going to make my car run longer, or it's going to be better on the engine. It's going to give me better gas mileage. So maybe not. Would I be willing to pay more for gas if I was convinced that it was going to be running, make my car last longer, give me much higher gas mileage? Would I be willing to pay more for that? I mean, some people wouldn't, but would some people be willing to pay for that? Sure. But what would so I'm willing to pay more for something than everybody else is paying for just regular old gas. But what if I showed up at that gas station and the tanker was filling up that gas station, and I got to go in for my donuts and my chocolate milk, I come back out, and that same tanker is across the street filling up the gas station that charges charges the normal amount for gas. So they're with the same exact gasoline. What am I at that point? I'm what? I'm angry. So what's the point I'm making with this gas station story? What's the point I'm making with this gas station story? I'm setting him up for the risk reward. There is no better gas. Is there a better, is one money manager better than another, guys? Guys, is there a best money manager? If there was a best money manager, how many money managers would there be? One. How do I know your money manager is just the average money manager? How do I know your money manager is just an average money manager? He's not bad. He's just not, he's good. He's no better or worse than anybody else. That's right, he's working with you, Nick. That's right, he's working with you. Because if he was really that good, what would his minimum account size be? 100 million. 100 million would be his minimum account size. If they're working with you with a $500,000 or $1 million account, he ain't all that. So now, once we've got them to agree on this, and remember Jeff was saying earlier with the whole beneficiary, we need to get them to admit that they love their grandkids before we let them know what they have. So we're getting them to admit that, man, I'd be pissed off if a gas station was charging me more for gas and making all these promises, and I found out later it was the exact same as what everybody else had. Once they've said that, and that's the way they think in real life, guess what they can't go back on? So then when we get to the risk reward, we talk about autopilot. An autopilot line. What's this autopilot line that we draw right through our risk reward graph? What's that signifying? What's our autopilot line signifying and that goes diagonally through our risk reward graph? Yeah, the index. The index, and it's not the S&P 500 index, because the S&P 500 is right here. What we say is here's the S&P 500 index, and there are other indexes. Are there other indexes that are more conservative than the S&P 500? Yeah, and those ones that are more conservative than the S&P 500, they'll get more or less return. Less. Are there indexes that are more aggressive than the S&P 500? And will they get more or less? They're going to get more. So this is saying I'm going to put it into an index that does or does not have a pilot, does or does not have a manager. Doesn't. So this is my autopilot. I don't even have a money manager here. And I can get this for basically what? Pennies on the dollar. Then we go into, what analogy do I go into, guys, with the risk reward? What analogy? What real life analogy do I talk about? We've already talked about the gas station. That's the money manager. Now I'm going to talk about which analogy? Wow, you guys need to go back. Those of you that, you need to go back and learn these scripts, dude. You go into the cable analogy. Cable TV. So, if I've got 30 stations and I'm getting free cable TV, I'm in an apartment building and I'm getting free cable TV, 30 stations, they're beautiful. They're beautiful. Crystal clear. And they're what? They're free. So 30 stations, crystal clear, beautiful, and they're free. And a guy comes to me and says, listen, I'm going to give you 20. Instead of 30 stations, I'm going to give you 20 stations. They're fuzzy, and I'm going to charge you $30 a month. What would I tell that guy? Yeah. What will any client say to that? 30 crystal clear for free, or 20 fuzzy for $30 a month. Would anybody want to take that deal? Well, isn't it interesting then? Because this autopilot line is just like the free cable TV. I'm getting free. This is basically, I'm not paying a pilot for this. Isn't it interesting that all of your funds fall below here, but they're all saying what? What are all the money managers saying here? What did the money manager tell you that it was worth? Why did the money manager tell you it was worth paying them money? So you have free cable here, but the guy says, no, I'm going to charge you for cable, and it ends up that cable is as good or worse than what you could get for free. Guys, you learn the money manager script, you learn the risk reward script. Guess how many people are going to stay with their money manager? Please put me in front of a Ken Fisher effing account with those two scripts. What's going to happen to Ken Fisher? But you're making me sad. Why are you making me sad? Jeff, why are they making me sad?
Well, because you have this tool that pretty much guarantees you that anybody that you run across with managed money is going to become a client of yours. And if you don't take the tool and use it, or become familiar with it, it's not going to do you any good.
No. Familiar bullshit.
You got to know it.
And guess what I know about everybody on this call? What do I know about everybody on the call based on your answers to the two scripts, the money management script and this script? What do I know about everybody on this call? That's right, Tom. You don't own it. Dudes, I'm going to spend the next month and call every one of your wives. And guess the kind of conversation I'm going to have with your wives. Those of you that are single, I guess you're off the hook. But I'm going to call every single one of your wives. And guess what I'm going to tell them? That your husband isn't what? I'm sorry for being a dick right now. Why am I being a dick right now, Jeff?
Well, you just want people, they came on to do better. You just want them to do better. You just want them to have success.
Well, if your son was 18 years old and you gave him something that if he spent 100 hours, what if he had to spend 100 hours every single month? But spending that 100 hours a month would make him $1 million, $2 million a year. And he said, Dad, that's really not worth it. What would you tell him, Jeff?
I tell him this is as good as it gets. I mean, you have to work hard. We're in an industry that's no different than any other. It just requires hard work. If you want to be good, you've got to work hard.
What if anytime he came and complained to you about this car wasn't working, or boy, life is hard, or geez, it'd be nice to be more successful, what would you tell him?
Hey, you've got the keys
Grow
to the
the F
kingdom.
up. You've got the keys and you're too lazy to do. Guys, please, please, please. You know what? You're making me sad. We got so many guys, and Jerry's been telling me, we're writing ungodly amounts of business this summer. So those of you that have been doing that, I apologize for ranting and raving here. But my God, based on these, if we're writing ungodly amounts of business this summer, how much could we be writing if you guys frickin' knew the scripts, dude? Please, 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 you have the goose that laid the golden egg, and you're treating it like what? This training we give you guys, I've had people from outside the industry say, I'd pay 15 grand for the training you're giving. I'd pay 15 grand for the training you're giving. And we give it to you for free, and guess how you guys are treating it? You know what, when I gave my car, when I bought my car, I paid for my insurance, and I treated that car like gold. You know what, I'm doing okay, so I gave both the boys used cars, and guess how they treated the frickin' cars I gave them that they got for free? So, you know, I'm going to let you, Jeff, give an inspiring, because I'm kind of laying on hard here, but, but I'll let you end with an inspiring comment.
Well, a lot of people are making a lot of progress. I think the tutorials have really helped. So what I would encourage everybody, and I think what's happened is a lot of people have gone through the tutorials, but I think they just listened to them. I really think that you guys, if you went back and really owned them, if you went back and recorded them, and be honest with yourself, did you listen to it? Did you just spend the 3 hours listening to it, or did you spend the 9 hours listening to it, recording it, listening to your recordings, thinking about what you needed to improve, re-recording it to make sure it sounds like what it's supposed to sound like before you moved on? Some of you have done that, but I think too many of you have not. And so go back and do that, and I would just encourage you to see what happens. You'll be amazed. You've heard the tapes, you've heard your peers do it. It makes all the difference. That's the way you bring on everybody that comes through your office, the do-it-yourselfers, the tire kickers, the plate lickers, anybody with money.
And that's really important, guys, because over this month we're rolling out yet another guaranteed program. So now we're going to have 3 guaranteed marketing programs. And what are the only 2 months you can really market coming forward until 2018? What are the only 2 months you can market? September and October, right, Wade? So guess how good you should be before September comes. So over the next few weeks, we're going to review all 3. We've got actually 2 new guaranteed marketings. We still have the eye-to-eye. So you're going to have 3 guaranteed marketings. What should everybody be prepared to do in September, October? And everybody answer this. If you go back and master, if you mastered the scripts, go back and master them again. You should all be able to market like a banshee come this September, October. You should be running 3 different types of marketing, or not 3 different types, 3 marketing campaigns in September, October, and you'll have the best year you've ever had, even with just those 2 months, if you go back and master the scripts. So guys, I apologize for getting on you, but you're making me sad. So I don't know if you want a cheerleader or a coach, but as a coach, guess what? Get your ass out there and start running the wind sprints. I know they're not fun, but that's how you become a championship team. If you want an ATM, if you want an ATM where anytime you want money, the scripts are that thing, okay? So you guys have a good rest of the week. We'll talk to you all next Monday. Thanks, guys. Talk to you. Bye.